I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
Kind of opens your heart and kind of breaks your heart at the same time, doesn't it? Wow. Well, let's imagine that we can travel back to 1843. Charles Dickens, one of the most celebrated authors of the day, was facing significant challenges. Financially, he was strained. Creatively, he was stuck. Personally, he felt the weight of failure as his recent works had fallen short of his expectations. The pressure to produce something meaningful and successful and immense was pushing at him. Then out of the blue, inspiration struck. He wanted to create a story about Christmas, but not in a conventional way. He wanted something rooted in redemption and generosity. He envisioned a tale to awaken people to the transformative power of kindness, compassion. And fueled by this spark, he wrote A Christmas Carol. And he wrote it in just 6 weeks. It was a gamble. It was an inspiration that he chose to follow, to self-publish. And he didn't know if he would succeed. Yet he trusted that creative voice within himself, and he took the leap. When the book was finally released, it didn't just resonate with people. It transformed people's lives. Readers were moved by the ageless honesty and the hope and the humanity in this story. And it reshaped how many people saw Christmas itself. They saw it as a powerful, saying yes to Spirit, yes to the Christ presence, yes to inspiration in spite of uncertainty. Like Charles Dickens, we all face moments where the path feels unclear. Ever happened to you? Well, you're stepping into the unknown, where you have a desire to create something, but you wonder, will I be successful? Can I do this? Do I have the inspiration and the power? Well, let's go back in time even further. Let's go back to the time of Mary and Joseph. And imagine walking in their shoes from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Some say it's between 70 and 90 miles that they had to walk through dusty, dirty, dangerous roads. Imagine. All because Caesar Augustus delivered a statement saying that everyone had to report for the census. It had to be difficult, right? Mary was pregnant. Joseph had a lot of responsibility. He didn't know that soon after the birth story, he was going to disappear from the Bible. And nobody knows what happened to him, interestingly enough. And they were dealing with physical exhaustion, emotional uncertainty. And you got to think there's a little societal judgment in there, right? Here was a virgin, not married to a man, and she's having a child. Can you imagine the rumor mill? Imagine if that happened today. by someone who was known to all of us. You can only imagine what they would get to face and be challenged with. Yet they kept going. They trusted in this divine guidance, even though on some level it didn't seem to make any sense. They walked step by step into the unknown. And that trust brought them to Bethlehem, a place that symbolizes new beginnings, divine appointments, and most of all, transformation. So here's the truth. Our Bethlehem moments are much the same. Sometimes this path that we're on looks impossible. Ever seen it? Felt that way for you? Like, how am I ever going to do this? How am I going to have the strength, the power, the love, the wisdom to do what I feel like I need to do? And yet, if we listen to that still small voice, we can discover that we're being pulled by the desire of spirit. Now, probably the most successful thing that was written about Christmas was A Christmas Carol. And I've been in this play about 5 times. I've played Marley, I've played Scrooge a couple times, I've played Fred. I love this play. But some of the lines in this place didn't really resonate with me until I started writing this talk. And I love what Marley's ghost said to him, or what Marley's ghost said to Scrooge. He said, "It's required of every man that the spirit within him should walk among his fellow men and travel far and wide." This quote reminds us that we are all called to this journey. We're all called, as Scrooge was, to walk this path, to take this journey, and to travel into unknown places, as Joseph and Mary did. We're sometimes called to move beyond our comfort zones, to connect with others, to live with compassion and purpose. Just as Mary and Joseph didn't understand at the moment, their journey has been an incredible realization or understanding or model for all of us. And we too are called to walk abroad. We too are required to journey into places where we haven't been, to do things that we haven't done before, to step into the unknown. And even in this struggle, Dickens knew and he believed in transformation, a transformation that was happening to him as he wrote this story, and to the character Scrooge. And I wonder if Dickens, in writing the story, wasn't talking about himself. And the part that got transformed in this story was him. So, what does it feel like to walk through a season of uncertainty? What does it feel like for you? Probably, if you consider it, it brings up a whole lot of different feelings, doesn't it? Right? There's the fearful feelings, there's the happy feelings, there's the challenging feelings, there's the doubtful feelings. You ever thought, how on earth am I ever going to make it through this situation? Dickens didn't know then, but his breakthrough was coming. And that's the first lesson, I think, is that oftentimes we don't see the breakthrough that we're going to have that's just around the bend. And some of us, I've done it, have given up on something, right? When the realization, the victory, the new understanding, the success might have been just around the corner. I used to teach first grade, and my first teaching job, teaching first grade, was in a trailer that was about 15 feet wide and 20 feet long. My class kind of looked like this, even though there's about 30 kids in this class. I can't imagine. But it looked kind of similar. But the difference was my classroom had no windows. So I had 20 6-year-old children in a 15 by 20 foot space with wooden chairs and wooden tables on a plywood floor. Right? And every time, if you took a chair and moved it like this, it went, right? I had 20 little bodies in chairs like that, right? And sometimes I felt like a lion tamer, right? It was kind of like, sit down, hey, leave her alone, be quiet, listen, because there was so much energy and noise, and it was amazing. Many times by lunchtime, I was done, right? I wanted to send up the red flag and get the heck out of there. But there was no way. I was literally trapped in this small space, smaller than this, with 20 kids. Can you imagine? And it wasn't in those days, you had no aid, right? So it was with me with those kids 6 hours a day. And I have to say, we had a blast. A friend of mine, I was telling a friend of mine at a Unity Church of my situation, and he said, well, Blaine, have you ever thought about teaching your class how to meditate? I'm like, say what? Teach 20 kids how to meditate? And he says, sure, I'll help you. And he taught meditation, and he taught breath work. And he said, we'll get carpet squares. And he said, I'll come in and we'll push all of the chairs aside and we'll give every child a carpet square to sit on. So it looked like this. And this picture actually looks more like the classroom that I had than the other one. Because even with the same kind of paneling and the chalkboard and the lights and no windows. So we taught the kids how to meditate. And turn off the lights, put some soft music on, and at first there's some kind of resistance by the children, and there was a tossing and a turning and a twitching and a poking going on initially. But after a couple weeks, the class started to enjoy it. The kids would say, hey, Mr. Tinley, we gonna do some meditation today when they came to school? And I'd say, yes, after lunch. And so we did this from that time on till the end of the year. And my classroom became a sacred place, transformed. Someone came in and interviewed me, and it was actually, a newspaper article was actually published about what I had done in this school, with the permission, by the way, of the principal. We talked about what I wanted to do. And my class transformed. It was amazing. It was magical. It was beyond belief. So this experience taught me that even in a cramped space, even in what seems to be chaos, that if we can follow that divine wisdom, right? That divine wisdom that said, hey, Blaine, would you think about teaching your class how to meditate? Transformed that class. I told the story to somebody last night, and they said, can you imagine how that experience might have affected those children? Right? So let's go back to A Christmas Carol, and we find Scrooge and Marley in the darkness. And the the narrator of the story says, darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. I didn't really understand that until I started to think about it, right? And it's a whole nother layer to this lesson. Because darkness represents naiveness, represents avoidance, right? In a sense, Scrooge was avoiding the truth. He wasn't willing to accept the light, to accept transformation. It did happen, of course, but his preference for darkness reflects his fear of inner transformation and connection. So I'm curious, where are we, or where are you, choosing the safety of darkness over the light of trust and possibility? Is there something that is pulling in you to experience more of a fullness of who you are? Are you like Scrooge and say, no, I'm not, I prefer to sit in the darkness, right? I'll light my 1 or 2 candles and I'll be safe in the darkness. Or are you willing to bring in the light, to look at what can be transformed in you? Where are you choosing the safety of darkness over the light of possibility? Oftentimes we get to face this fear. I think a lot of what life is about facing the fear and letting in the light, right? That's really, to me, what the spiritual journey is all about. It's about connecting with that higher self, with the presence of love. Call it the universe, call it God, call it Jesus, whatever you want to call it Buddha, right? But it's that wisdom that you have access to, that if you listen, is pulling on you and saying, yeah, but. Yeah, so you're afraid. Okay, but what if there's something more for you? We're all kind of, let's probably a good time to say the affirmation. Remember what we're doing and where we're going. So let's say this together. I am calm, centered, and at peace, knowing every challenge prepares me for something greater. We're all walking our own Bethlehems, aren't we? Maybe it's a job challenge you have, or maybe it's a health challenge, or maybe it's a financial situation, or maybe it's a challenge with a relationship, or maybe it's a challenge within you about really following your path, being the essence of who you are, birthing that Christ presence, that higher self that desires so greatly to express life as you. We all have moments when the road feels dark. But just like Joseph and Mary, we are guided if we listen. The journey that we're on may not be what we're expecting, right? True for anybody? It's not always what we're expecting and what we hope for. But if we can be totally present for it, we can be transformed by it. Every outer journey that we have, that you have, is a reflection of an inner transformation, right? So if something is pushing your buttons, it ain't about the situation, right? It's about something that wants to be birthed in you. Bethlehem, metaphysically, is more than just a place. It's a symbol of birth and renewal. and the promise of something greater. It's a promise of that great potential that you are. What if the challenges we face are not punishments, but preparations? Have you ever said, why is this happening to me? Right? I deserve better than this. I did everything I could do to keep this from happening. Yeah. And it reminds me of a bumper sticker that says shit happens, right? And so what if that's a preparation? What if instead of saying, dang, I don't hate this, we said, okay, this has something to teach me. This is my angel, right? This is the angel that spoke to Mary and said, guess what? You're going to have a baby. She's like, I'm a virgin, for God's sakes, right? So what if everything, all the challenges we face are not punishments? Nobody's punishing us. The days of a punishing God are dead, right? We've moved past that in our thinking and our believing. That God doesn't exist, thank God, right? So take a breath. The challenges we face are not punishments. They're opportunities. They're preparing us for the greatest that we get to be. Okay, so what can we do to navigate uncertainty? Well, I've got 5 ideas. And the first one is to cultivate a daily spiritual connection, to cultivate a daily spiritual practice, right? Just, if nothing else, spend 5 minutes in meditation a day. Say an affirmation or 2 a day, right? And instead of getting up and being grumpy in the morning, before you get out of bed, say an affirmation. One I used last week is, the Christ is born in me today, I think, or something very similar to that, right? What if you said, I'm going to be Christ-like today. I'm going to celebrate love today. I'm going to be joy today. No offense, Joy. Even though we would all like to be you. And the second thing we can do is to build a spiritual community, right? To participate in a place like this, where we have people of like mind, right? Where we celebrate each other, we love each other, we encourage each other. You know, surround yourself with people that lift you up. I think that's so important, right? Because we've all had a negative Nate, right, show up in our lives, right, who's always got something negative to say. And if we hang around him too long, what happens? Right? We start to think like him, right? Let that sucker go. Instead, find positive Perry, you know? And hang out with people that are positive, who lift you up, who call that person, and be the person who shares love and light yourself. It's so important that we support each other, that we love each other, that we listen to each other. And the next thing is to maintain perspective through gratitude. You know, gratitude changes our perspective. There's scientific evidence that people who practice gratitude not only experience the moment with more pleasure, but they also what? They attract stuff to them. So being grateful for what you have attracts more to you. It's almost like the universe says, oh, you like this? Here's some more. Right? You like being prosperous? Oh, here's some more. You like having good friends? Here's some more. You know, if we're hanging out with negative Nelly, then we're gonna attract more of that negative stuff, because that's what we know what we focus on, what? We attract. Okay, and let's see. That's number 3. Number 4 is take inspired action despite fear. It's kind of like when you feel the fear, act anyway, right? And certainly sometimes we have to be discerning, right? And you get to do that. But it's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. I think somebody wrote a book like that, right? Feel it. Oh, I feel fearful. Okay, but I know I'm going to pursue what's good for me. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to take action on this thing that I'm feeling pulled to do. And simple. It doesn't have to be big. Just meditating 5 minutes a day will change your day, change your life. And the last one is to practice radical trust. Trusting that you're on the right path. Trusting that in spite of what all is going on, we keep our focus, right? It's like having a compass and pointing our compass towards the light, towards the love, towards the peace, towards the joy. Trust that the right way will reveal itself to you when we hold that thought, that idea, when we trust. We keep walking one step at a time. Reminds me of J.K. Rowling. Remember her? She's a woman that created the Harry Potter series. And she was turned down 12 times when she took the Harry Potter series to publishers. And they said, no, thank you. No, thank you. I bet they're eating their books now, right? Because she became immensely effective because she refused to take no for an answer. She's like, you know what? This thing wants to be birthed in me, and I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to express it. I'm going to share it with the world. And I know that those books and that message has transformed many people's lives. Because at their essence, they're books about spirituality, right? So when we trust the unknown, in the unknown, when we persist in confidence, breakthroughs happen. And life is all about breaking through the doubt and the fear and the judgment and being present in the moment. So here, I have a call to action. So here's what I'm asking you to do this week. Simple. Right? Are you excited about it? Huh? And you can say, Reverend Blaine, you're just full of it, and I'm sorry, my life is good. I don't need to apply these principles to my life. All right, I hope that it's working for you. So what I'm inviting you to do is to identify your personal Bethlehem moment. What is it that is calling you forward? What is it that wants to be transformed in you? And identify it. Say, wow, this is my Bethlehem. This is where I am being pulled to go, to be, to do. And then the second part is just to commit to one practice a day. More if you can, but say a couple affirmations every day. Just meditate for just 5 minutes. If you can't meditate, just sit in the silence and just listen. Contemplate who you are. Contemplate, what are you doing here? Right? Who am I? And it might take more than 5 minutes to figure that out. But the beauty of it is, when we take time to listen, it comes to us. It's like the kids in my class. At first, meditating was the last thing they wanted to do. And after a while, it's like they craved it, right? I craved it, right? To be able to meditate myself and get paid by the state of California, that's a dang good thing, right? And then next, be willing to give and receive support from others, right? Be willing to reach out to other people, to connect with them, and to say, wow, it's great to see you. How are you? And on the other hand, if you see somebody with a tear in their eye, to say, I'm here for you. How can I help you? Can I listen to you? And then to do the same to others, and to find someone that you can share your victories with, your sorrows with. You know, something that I think is ingrained, I notice it in my consciousness, is there's a part of me that says, oh, you can't do that. That's showing that you're weak. Ever heard that? Some of us heard that growing up as children, right? Sharing your hurt is weak. You have to have a stiff upper lip. You got to be tough, right? Got to be a man, right? Or got to be a new woman, right? When it's interesting, the opposite is true. Strength is showing your feelings in an appropriate way. You don't want to be mobbing Marley, and be the one who's crying and weepy all the time and sharing their problems. Again, we have to use discernment. But the message is really to be honest, to be real, to be present. And then the last thing is to trust the journey, to recognize that you are on a spiritual journey. This is your journey. Right here, right now, your lifetime is your journey. So where will you go? Will you go to Bethlehem? So let's go back to Charles Dickens. His struggle gave birth to a story that has touched millions and millions of people. And maybe you've been touched by it. Mike told me on the way here this morning that Michelle likes to watch this movie a couple times a month. Because it's an amazing movie with an amazing message. And I like what the ghost of Christmas Present says to Scrooge. She says, the past is the past, but the present and future are in your hands. Maybe the road before you is unknown. Maybe the road that you're walking is preparing you for something else, something greater than anything you can imagine. Maybe your dedication and your perseverance is going to change somebody else's life. Maybe that's part of your purpose, to be that light, to be that love, to be that truth, to be that joy. Maybe you're here to touch people's lives in ways that maybe you can't even see. Let's say our affirmation again. I am calm, centered, and at peace, knowing that every challenge prepares me for something greater. And as Tiny Tim says, so beautiful, so beautifully, remember what he says? God bless us, everyone. And God bless you on your journey to Bethlehem. And so it is. I invite you to close your eyes. And take a deep breath, breathing into this moment. So imagine that it is you walking on this path to Bethlehem. What is your Bethlehem? What is it that you are called to do, to be? You might even notice some of the stop signs along the path that show up and say, oh, wait, be afraid. Oh, stop, yield, don't go too fast. And I invite you just to breathe into this journey, to see yourself moving through these opportunities for manifestation, through these opportunities for growth, opportunities to experience more love and more light, to be the essence and the truth of who you are. Breathe into that. So, who are you? If you could picture yourself, your higher self, your fully evolved self, your Christmas self, how would that feel? What would that look like? Who would you be? And let's take just a moment to observe this new you. And we'll do so for a moment in the silence. Breathing in and breathing out. Embracing this fully expressed you in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, in every cell, every tissue. And I invite you to try this on and to be this Christmas present in all that you are today. Breathing in and breathing out. And slowly begin to become aware of this room and this time together. And I invite you to open your eyes when you're ready. Okay, so why don't we stand and let's affirm and pray together the prayer for protection, and then we'll join together in a circle and sing the peace song. So for ourselves, for this ministry, for all life, let's pray together the prayer for protection, which begins, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God bless you, friends. Thank you for being here today. Bless you on Facebook.
Where I live, they're all raised.